Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Israel Wake Up. This is our Women Advanced Bible Study night, the 29th of January, 2026. Okay, we'll be reading out of the book of Genesis for our reading, Genesis chapter 10 and through 12, 3 chapters. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel, Israel Wake Up, check out our videos. We have over 100 or so videos you can look at, examine, get the truth out of. And, okay, this channel is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah, Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance. The Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior and our Redeemer and our Deliverer, the Lord of Hosts. Okay, this channel was created to aid and assist all Hebrews who are waking up in these last days, these final hours, to their true identity and understanding who their Savior and their Redeemer truly is. Okay, shalom and welcome to this channel. Okay, and welcome to our Women's Advanced Bible Study. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, psalms. We have some women's health our moment with Michelle. Then we have current event. Excuse me. Excuse me. We have some current events, some need to know information. Then we're opening up for anybody with questions, comments, any dialogue, any testimonies. Then we're going to our topic for discussion. It's pertaining to Project 2025, and it explains how Trump plans to strip power from the black communities. Okay, and then, like I said, we'll be reading out of Genesis chapter. We'll be reading chapters 10 through 12. We're going to read each chapter and break it down, and then we'll pick a scripture like we normally do at the end of the class. We'll read that scripture, rightly divide it, break it down, and then we'll close out. Okay. This moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts, and all that he's doing is bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Oh Lord, we come before thee at this time. We appreciate you, Lord, for your patience and your guidance in these last days. Oh Lord, we thank you for your awakening of us to this great understanding of your word. For this cause, we honor and respect you greatly. Turn out thy face from us, but allow us in our searching to you to find you, O Lord, and to dwell with you. Peace be unto you. Okay, we're going to read the Psalms. Okay.
Shalom, everyone. Yes, sir. Psalms 28. Unto thee will I cry, O Lord, my rock. Be not silent to me, lest if thou be silent to me, I become like them that go down into the pit. Hear the voice of my supplications when I cry unto thee, when I lift up my hands toward the holy oracle. Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their hearts. Give them according to their deeds and according to the wickedness of their endeavors. Give them after the work of their hands. Render to them their desert. Because they regard not the works of the Lord, nor the operation of his hand, he shall destroy them and not build them up. Blessed be the Lord, because he hath heard the voice of my supplication. The Lord is my strength and my shield. My heart trusteth in him, and I am helped. Therefore, my heart greatly rejoiceth, and with my song will I praise him. The Lord is their strength, and he is the saving strength of his anointed. Save thy people and bless thy inheritance. Feed them also and lift them up forever. That was Psalms 28.
Okay, got any feedback on that?
Um, But it's a cry out to the Lord of hosts, for the wicked coming to get him. So he's first is crying out to the Lord, and then after he says what he want to say about the wicked or what the Lord can do, then it seems as if he starts to, get. get back into it, because he blesses the Lord and tell him that, that he is his supplication, he's his strength, he's his shield, and and he believes that he will help him, because if he doesn't get the help, he's saying in these other verses here that the wicked has it out for him. So he's praying out to the Lord of hosts for the help and thanking him for it, because he says he knows he'll be there for him.
Okay. Anybody else got a thing on that? Okay, we'll go to our women's health moment with Michelle.
Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. Please note that the information provided on this channel is intended for general knowledge only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment for any medical conditions. You should not use this information to diagnose or treat any health problems. Tonight's discussion is on the health benefits of saffron. Saffron, often called red gold, is one of the world's most precious and expensive spices. Saffron is a type of crocus flower. The spice is made from dried thread-like parts of the flower. This vibrant red spice has been treasured for thousands of years for its distinctive flavor, aroma, and remarkable health properties. What makes this spice so valuable is the labor-intensive harvesting process. Each flower produces only 3 tiny red stigmas, which is the female part of the flower, which must be carefully handpicked and dried. It takes approximately 75,000 flowers to make just 1 pound of saffron, which explains its high price tag. Saffron is not just your regular cooking spice, as it also offers amazing benefits to keep your health in check. Here are 7 saffron health benefits. It alleviates symptoms associated with PMS. It helps treat eye disorders. It has skin benefits. Saffron has an ample amount of vitamin C. Vitamin C is an antioxidant that reduces the risk of hyperpigmentation and wrinkles. It is a natural skin tone balancer that hydrates the skin from within. Likewise, anti-inflammatory properties help with the rejuvenation of skin cells. Overall, saffron imparts a glowing touch and healthier skin with its protective, nourishing, and anti-aging properties. It treats respiratory disorders. It promotes heart health. It supports digestive health. Saffron has been used to treat various digestive ailments. It can stimulate digestion, reduce inflammation in the gut, and protect against stomach ulcers. It also improves sleep quality. Though saffron is the most expensive spice in the world, a small amount goes a long way. I will be reading from the book of Proverbs, chapter 15, verses 7 through 9, the lips of the wise. Verse 7 says, "The lips of the wise disperse knowledge, but the heart of the foolish doeth not. The sacrifice of the wicked," I'm getting feedback, excuse me, "is an abomination to the Lord, but the prayer of the upright is his delight." Verse 9, "The way of the wicked is an abomination unto the Lord, but he loveth him that followeth after righteousness." Tonight's discussion was on the health benefits of saffron, and I read from the book of Proverbs, chapter 15, verses 7 through 9, the lips of the wise. Shalom, everyone.
Okay, appreciate that information. Okay, we're gonna go to our current events. We'll play them, then we'll deal with each one as we go. Okay.
The United States government is going to shut down once again, and millions of Americans are going to be impacted as a result. There's some good news here, and there's some bad news. I'm going to break down what the good news is, what the bad news is, and why so many people are watching this. Why so many people are wondering, what is going to happen. We are right now, as of this morning, we are hearing talks are intensifying. Look at this. It says talks intensify to avert government shutdown as White House and Senate leaders eye a last-ditch deal. Now, what's in this deal? Well, let's watch this clip because, again, what's happening right now is key. This is extremely important because we need the government to stay open. If we see another partial government shutdown, millions of people are going to be impacted. We are going to feel the effects. But listen to this right here.
In Washington, Senate Democrats are threatening to block funding for the Department of Homeland Security without reforming ICE.
Masks off, body cameras on, be able to identify who's an agent, who isn't, and what agency are they from, have some predictable method for accountability.
Without those changes, Democrats say they won't provide the votes needed.
Democrats have been very clear that if ICE doesn't change, if the money that's going to the Department of Homeland Security, if we do not see some type of reform, so people aren't being pulled from their houses, people are not being thrown to the ground on the streets, people aren't being shot that are not a threat, they say we will not provide additional funding. But listen to this right here because the talks, again, are intensifying. They are getting closer, but there's a 100% chance we see a government shutdown come Saturday morning. The good news is the reason it's a 100% chance is because the House of Representatives is currently on a week-long recess. They will not be back until Monday. So even if the Senate passes a bill, the House is not coming back until Monday, meaning we will at least be going through a 2-day shutdown. Not too bad, but again, at least it's something. Okay, we know what's going to happen. Listen to this though right here.
I have some news just coming in this morning. I'm told by sources that talks between the White House and Senate Democrats are intensifying this morning in order to avoid a partial government shutdown tomorrow. There is no firm deal just yet. We know that Senate Democrats have been trying to take a stand around DHS funding following the shooting and killing of Renee Good and Alex Preddy down in Minneapolis. So as of now, I'm told that these talks center around separating money from DHS from a larger package to keep the government funded. This would allow the military and critical programs for the CDC, for educational programs like Head Start to be funded through September. It would also temporarily extend funding for DHS, giving Democrats in the White House more time to discuss any possible policy changes. We want to be clear, this is not a firm deal. Both sides do need to agree. The White House is not commenting this morning, but it does come after Senate Democrats laid out their list of demands, including ending roving patrols, ensuring federal agents are held to the same use of force policies that apply to state and local law enforcement, preventing agents from wearing masks and requiring body cameras.
That's what they're asking for, okay? Democrats are asking for ending roving patrols. They hate that. Ensuring federal agents are held to the same use of force policies as state and local law enforcement. We can't be just throwing people to the ground. Just because you are a federal agent, you're a ICE enforcement officer, whatever, you cannot be throwing people to the ground and yet you are not being held accountable for that. They also say they want to prevent agents from wearing masks. So we have no clue who they are, and also require body cameras. This is what they're demanding. This isn't an ask, it's a demand. And right now, Democrats are saying that this is what we want. This is pretty much our list. Give us everything, or else you do not get the votes, and we will shut the government down. That's what they're telling us. I want to show you something else. It says today, the Senate will vote today on whether to take up a government spending package as Democrats press the White House for a deal to consider funding for the Department of Homeland Security separately from other departments. Friday is the deadline to avert a government shutdown. What we know is that this bill, it's a partial government shutdown. We've already extended the funding for 6 appropriations bills earlier this year. Okay, that's already been done, or actually was back in the fall. But there's another 6 that have to be fully funded by January 30th, which is Friday. Okay, that's tomorrow. end of day tomorrow, they have to fund this bill. Here's what they're discussing. That why don't we pass a bill that's going to partially fund or just extend the funding for ICE and Department of Homeland Security? We'll extend it potentially like a week or maybe 2 weeks, just to give us enough time to go back in and change the policies as to what and how these ICE agents are able to conduct themselves. Okay? But they want to pass all the other ones. So if they can separate the two, 5 appropriations bills and then the one. But again, the reason I'm bringing this up is because if they can't come to this agreement by the end of day tomorrow, the government's going to shut down. Okay.
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody been keeping up with that? Okay.
Shalom.
Okay.
Brother Leonard, I have not been keeping up with the government shutdown conversation. The first time I heard of it probably happening was yesterday. Not yesterday, but I think it was yesterday, during the class yesterday. Before, when we had our first one under Donald Trump's current administration, there was consistent talk about the likelihood that it would happen anyway. But one thing I was going to mention is that these things that Congress, the House and the Senate might be asking for, whichever it is, I did not pay attention in the video, of ICE officers is ridiculous. And this is why I say it, because more recently there was a man that was shot in a scuffle. He was apparently, the story is, he was helping pick up a lady who got pushed over by ICE. And while helping pick her up, they started scuffling with him. One officer pulled a gun off of his waist, off of this man's waist, and another ICE officer shot him. Well, anybody who knows anything about law enforcement knows somebody having a gun on their waist is not reason to shoot. They have to brandish it, pull it out. They have to make a threat with the possibility to actually act on it. You can't just shoot because you see a gun. That's not how it works. And so if these people had a mask on their face or not on their face, it would not have made a difference. So the things they're asking for doesn't save anybody if you're letting them just shoot. I said this before, I'm glad that we have yet to see anybody that looks like us in the midst of all of this. I had a cousin who was visiting, watching the news when this came up, and he was disgusted because there was an Edomite-looking male who basically was crying and whining about how unsafe he felt in Minneapolis. And it was just like, well, this is what we've been living with, being shot for no reason. But now you guys are not feeling safe. But unfortunately, they're feeling it because as of late in Minneapolis, the people that are being shot are people none of us would have ever thought would have been being shot. But I don't think taking off a mask is going to change anything. If you're allowing these people to shoot when they're not in danger, when law enforcement has never been able to do that, I don't think a mask off of their face will change anything.
Yeah. A lot of people saying that those are Proud Boys. That's why a lot of them want the mask off. They don't think they actual legal officers. They think they the people that Trump promised, a lot of the people that he pardoned. That's why they got the mask on. That's why they want the mask off. Okay, yeah. Anybody else got a thing on that?
Yes, sir. I would agree with what you're saying. I also forgot there was somebody who said they were I cannot remember the person and what position they were in. They were shocked that during training, it was some type of trainer, I don't know what rank he was, training officers when he went back, that some of them had felonies. I mean, the things that you would never hire somebody for law enforcement, they were hired. So I even think that's a reason to be masked up, because you know you should not be be in this position.
Exactly. Okay. Here we go.
It is true that countries around the world are now taking a hard turn on immigration, closing their borders to newcomers and sending immigrants back to their home countries. And I know people are always focusing on the US and Trump doing this and that to immigrants, but it is not only the US.
Something huge is unfolding across Europe, and it is moving faster than most people realize. Countries that once welcomed millions of migrants are now reversing course at full speed. In the year 2025, deportations are rising sharply, borders are tightening, and immigration policies are becoming tougher than at any point in recent history.
The Canada Border Services Agency is removing about 400 people a week from the country, a pace of deportation not seen in over a decade. The numbers for the current fiscal year are on track to set a new record high of about 22,000.
New record-breaking figures out by the Department of Homeland Security revealed 2.5 million illegal aliens have left the U.S. since President Trump took office in January. 605,000 were deported, 1.9 million self-deported, according to DHS, saving billions for public services.
And just to add to all that, Denmark is sending asylum seekers to be processed in Rwanda. Italy is sending them to Albania. Poland and Finland have a border wall against immigrants coming into their country. What about Sweden? Sweden has cut social welfare benefits to immigrants, while Germany and France are deporting people in record numbers. Why is all this happening? And what does this mean for people who are looking to move from their home countries to these countries? Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. My name is Dia Kola. I have lived in Canada for over 25 years. And on this channel, I share about growing older and thriving in every area of our lives as immigrants. Welcome back to this side of life. And if you're new here, welcome to the Wise Tribe. And thank you all for joining me today. So these days, there's no shortage of news and stories of different countries kicking out immigrants from their country. I mean, the latest one is the one that we hear from the US, where the US government has suspended immigration visas for immigrants from 75 different countries. Also for Nigeria, you now need up to $15,000 to put up as a bond to be able to get an immigrant visa to the US. So why is all this happening? I think the number one reason is because of the economic situation that we find ourselves in all over the world, where the cost of living is so high, there are no jobs, people are finding it more difficult to make a living, to survive. And I guess in that kind of situation, people tend to look out for themselves first. It's just like what they tell us when we are flying, that if anything happens and the oxygen mask drops from above, you need to put it on yourself first before you put it on a child or somebody else that's dependent on you. I guess that's what's happening. Like, people are now going into the mode of self-preservation and thinking about, oh, we need to preserve ourselves. We need to provide for our own citizens before providing for people who are from other places. So I think that is the number one reason why this is happening. And then another reason why it is happening is because there are large numbers of people who come from different countries to these other countries, and they are undocumented. They did not come in legally, and they come in and they start to depend on the welfare systems in these countries. The question is, what do we do in this new reality that we find ourselves if we want to move from one country to another, if we want to move from our home country to a new country? The number one thing I would say, for my Nigerian people, is that the days of Japa for Japa sake is over. If you want to move from your home country to another country, you better have a good reason why you are doing it. You better have a good why, and you better know what that reason is, what your why is. And it better be a very convincing and genuine why. You can no longer just be moving because, oh, it is the vogue, everybody is moving, Japa is the trend, and I just want to leave my country and go for no reason. You don't have any plan, you are just going with the flow. That is no longer going to work. So you need to have a good reason. You need to sit down and count the cost. What are the pros and cons? You need to shine your eyes and be objective. The days of, oh, I didn't know, like nobody told me, those days are over. Please, I'm begging everybody, go legally. Go there legally. Don't go through the back door. Don't jump the fence or use any fraudulent means to go to another country. Follow the rules, follow the law, go through the application process, and let the chips fall where they may. Get the visas legitimately, especially in these conditions that we have today. If you have to go anywhere, please do it legally.
Okay. Any feedback on that? Okay. So my need to know information is we know that these Edomites Zionists, they have bought TikTok and all hell breaking loose. Same way it did with Project 2025 when they came on the scene. Let's check it out.
Let's keep it moving and grooving. I have a good news story coming in. Bam, bam, bam. So, if you are not aware, TikTok has officially been sold to Larry Ellison. And after that takeover, there was immense censorship on TikTok, even to the point where people were getting 0 views. TikTokers that have been booming, all of a sudden their videos weren't shown to anyone. Now, one of the changes, of course, was pro-Israel. I want to bring this in here so you can see this is the new CEO of TikTok, and I want you to hear what he said about the new takeover.
Watch TikTok's new CEO admit they changed TikTok to punish Americans for criticizing Zionism and Israel.
We made a change to designate the use of the term Zionist as a proxy for a protected attribute as hate speech. So if somebody were to use Zionist, of course you can use it in the sense of you're a proud Zionist, but if you're using it in the context of degrading somebody, calling somebody a Zionist as a dirty name, then that gets designated as hate speech.
So I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah, me too.
Because either you're calling yourself a Zionist, but you don't want other people to call you a Zionist, or they can't call you a Zionist in a negative way. Again, what happened to free speech? So this, I'm just confused. This is confusing to me. But here we are. Make up your mind.
To be moderated against. We tripled the amount of accounts that we were banning for hateful activity. We also have, I think, over 24 Jewish organizations that are constantly feeding us intelligence and information when they spot violent trends.
Why do you think Zionists work hard to suppress Americans' free speech?
And ladies and gents, that is the new TikTok. So many of us have left TikTok. I deactivated my account. I removed the TikTok app off my phone, and I'm going to show you why that's important as well. It's not just the censorship, it's the new tracking and the new terms of agreement that you had to agree to that is causing other people to flee as well. But there's a rainbow at the end of this story. Now, Bernie Sanders is calling this out as well. He said, thanks to Trump, right-wing multi-billionaire Larry Ellison will now control the TikTok algorithm along with CBS, MTV, The Free Press, BET, CMT, Simon & Schuster, Nickelodeon, Paramount Plus, Pluto TV, and more. This is what oligarchy looks like. So, first of all, BET should be ashamed, huh? BET should be ashamed, but they're there. So everybody just pay attention to that. If you're watching these channels and all of a sudden it seems a little bit different. But Bernie leaves something out that journalist Ken Klippenstein did mention. Congress also played a role by forcing its sale in the first place. Yeah. And I remember under the Biden administration, I was complaining about that. Many were saying, like, what the hell are you doing? Don't sell TikTok, like, leave it alone. TikTok was fine the way that it was. Once the US decided to come in and say, well, we're going to own TikTok, everything went downhill. But it was pushed by Congress. Everybody remember that? And then Donald Trump came in right before he started his presidency and said, I'm going to bring TikTok back. And then he looked like the hero and people were pointing fingers at the Democrats and all that type of stuff. This was bipartisan. So you had Congress that went along with it. Now, here's the big plus. TikTok users are deleting the app with removals up 150% following the US joint venture. And that's not an exaggeration. I'll tell you where we're all going. TikTok users have been deleting the app at a higher rate since the company announced that its US operations would be housed in a new joint venture. I'm going to reword this. They've been leaving at a higher rate since the company announced that it was now owned by Larry Ellison, and he increased censorship and tracking information. The daily average of US users deleting the TikTok app has increased nearly 150% over the past 5 days compared to the previous 3 months. That is according to market intelligence firm Sensor Tower. Some users took to social media to voice their skepticism about the new joint venture after being prompted to agree to an updated privacy policy. Yeah, and it was not good. It goes on to say here, several social media posts pointed to language in the new policy that describes the type of data TikTok may collect, including sensitive information such as your racial and ethnic origin, your sexual life or sexual orientation.
As a Zionist, or is calling you a Zionist a form of hate speech and you're offended by it? Because it can't be both, my guy. You see this right here, TikTok? This is why everybody moving to up scroll. We all knew this was coming whenever that Zionist billionaire bought this shit. We knew it was coming. Y'all can't even get your story straight. Y'all don't even know if y'all like being called Zionists or not. We don't know what to post anymore. So we just gonna leave. How about that? But y'all still Zionists though. I don't care if you call hate speech, y'all still Zionists.
Yeah, it does not make any sense. It's like you don't want to be called a Zionist. You do want to be called a Zionist. I'm just really confused here. But at the end of the day, we moved on. We moved on to an app called Upscroll. I'm there. You can find a bunch of people, not just me, but a lot of other people that are on there. All your faves that were on TikTok, some of the accounts that you follow on Twitter, we all moved over to Upscroll. And Upscroll, it says time to scroll differently. Shadow banned elsewhere? Not here. Upscroll is the social platform where every voice gets equal power. No shadow bans, no algorithmic games, no pay to play favoritism, just authentic connection where your content reaches the people who matter most.
Okay. Anybody hear anything about that? Any comments? What do you think?
Shalom, everyone. I've heard of one TikTok person. She said that she was leaving TikTok and going to Substack, and that was like 2 weeks ago. And she was telling on her TikTok page that everyone needs to leave it because they're going to go so much into your personal life and to everything about you, and whoever is following you, they'll be able to follow them and you track everything. So she mentioned that like 2 weeks ago, and she's no longer on it.
Okay. Anybody else got anything on that?
Yes, sir. Brother Leonard, what do you think about Beijing basically selling? Seemingly, they only have a third of the company, and some people say it's really just a fourth. So, about them selling basically 2/3 of the company and the algorithm to the U.S. For the longest, many years ago, Trump was talking about in his first term that Americans shouldn't use it because China is spying on everybody. But even though America is split into 3 different American companies, even though America has most of the company, Beijing is still involved, and they had to be okay with this new privacy policy. And my wheels are just spinning in my brain about, again, Edom still being over there in Asia somewhere. How they're okay with all of this after selling most of their company to the U.S.
You talking about TikTok?
Yes, sir.
Right, yeah. So me looking at that is if you notice, the blacks are outside of everything that's going on right now with the protests and all that. The blacks are pretty much dormant, and I keep talking about everything that Pastor Manning said. So them buying TikTok, I think that's going to be their way to come in with the blacks. That's how they're going to find a way to start rounding the blacks up. That's the way I see it.
Okay.
Right. Notice it's Jewish that's got TikTok. So yeah. Anybody else? Okay. So with that being said, I'm opening up for any questions. Anybody got any comments? Any dialogue, testimony? You want to shine a light on something?
Shalom. I have one comment / question. In my Martin Luther King Jr. research, I did not know, again, I'm sorry if I'm late to the party, but I did not know that 6 years later his mother was pretty much assassinated. And I'm surprised to be as old as I am and not know it, but it was by somebody who calls himself a Hebrew Israelite. Whoever he was being taught by did not teach violence, and everybody else, it was a small group of people. Hananiah E. Israel, that was following that man. That's not the person who shot Alberta King, but they were following him. They were surprised that their fellow brother did go shoot her, but I've been amazed at how early on people were calling themselves Hebrew Israelites and talking about what apparently Hananiah E. Israel was teaching everyone, was that the civil rights movements, these Christian pastors, all of them are false prophets, and they're making things worse and going against what we need to do. We just need to sit still and do nothing because this is our punishment and our time will come. And I thought, what in the world? But I don't know if you know anything about that. If you did, I wanted to know what your thoughts were. It was almost like, for me to just find this out recently, that was really shoved down and not spoken about, because it was all over the news that he was calling himself a Hebrew and then also saying Hebrew Israelite. And that might help people open their eyes. But I never knew that's who killed her.
Right. Well, he was spot on, because they are all of Martin Luther King, all of them. They boule. Those are people that they brought on the scene to quell us, to keep us in to where we at. So the Hebrew Israelite thing, it ain't just start. It just accelerated to where it's at now. But way back, Denmark Vesey, he was a Hebrew Israelite. He understood who he was. So you say, what are you talking about? They moved the when they had the blacks taken to and set the American colony up on in Africa called I had just had on my tongue I think it's Monrovia. Can't think of the name of that country, but the reason why they had those blacks, a bunch of blacks shipped to that and made an American colony, African American colony in Africa, was taught because the Israelites was waking up, and the ones that was waking up, they gave them They gave them that free shipment of ship out of here, or free, however you want to call it. They gave them free passport out of here. That's how you get. I'm thinking I'm saying it right. Monrovia, the country, the Liberia. There it is. Okay, I'm tripping. Liberia. That's how you get Liberia. The African American country that's over there in Africa right now today is because of those men started waking up. Israelites was waking up. They started waking up, so they quailed it. They quailed it when they started waking up. And so they took all the ones that was waking up and let them go, ship them over there. And then, but it didn't really stop, or it kind of frailed it for a minute, but it started right back up. And that's been the story the whole time. We never just was lost as far as, like they say, the lost 10 tribes. You always had a lot of those guys. I think it's the other guy. What his name? They just had a video, or just had a movie came out on him. Can't think his name. It come to me, but yeah. So that's what all those uprising was about. Them guys, they knew when they came over here who they were. They knew they was, but those are the ones that was all the harsh treatment and the brutality that they had. It was for those ones, the ones that was rebelling knew who they was. They knew who they was and what they was before they came here. So they was systematically getting rid of all them and then brainwashing the rest of them. Prime example was they showed you on Roots how they beat the Kusa Kinte, made him not deal with his name no more, not deal with his culture. You know what I'm saying? But then you say, well, what you talking about? That's the same thing they did in Babylon. That's why Daniel got, just like now, all of us got our slave master names. The first name, but especially our last names. So you got Daniel, Belteshazzar, and then the world famous Sheshbazzar, which is Zerubbabel. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they was renamed. So it didn't just start over here. That's been the process the whole time. And like I said, a lot of those guys, they knew who they was. That's what, and they refused to give up their identity. And that's how they was being beat, and then some of them started riots, start killing them and all that. That was just because it was all because of that. But they downplayed it. And then so what they did was these they call them Divine Nine, the Boule. That was the purpose of the Boule. And that's where Martin Luther King came from. All these so-called civil rights leaders that we get, they coming from there. They've been raised up and lifted up by them, not by the Creator. They don't possess the knowledge of the Most High, and so he was spot on.
Yes, sir.
Right.
What you just said also brought some information to me. I read a book. I was reading it online. I failed to know the title or the author at this point. I was reading the content, and it was around the time of slavery, and there were freed slaves. And this writer, clearly a white person, was talking about how, writing a letter to Congress about how all the freed slaves need to be relocated back to Africa.
Right.
But in there was never direct, like, blatant reason why that was even a thing. Like, why do all the free slaves need to be shipped back to Africa? And this person just kept saying, because that would be the best thing to do for them and for us. But they never said why it was the best thing. So that what you just said helped me connect some dots. I in my head, I'm like, why would spending money on shipping them to Africa be best? Because their eyes were open.
Exactly. That's the reason why. What happened with Marcus Garvey? That's what he was doing. Just look at what he was doing. He had 3 big old cruise liners. The very thing we waiting on. He came with 3 big old cruise liners, And they sabotaged him and sunk him and drunk. So he's not gonna do all that and don't know who he was, who he is. He knew he was a Hebrew Israelite. He knew our origins, our history. So he was like like they say, the spook that slept by the door. So that's why they use the boule. Like I said, to this very day, they got W. Du Bois. They got him like he's a superhero over there in Ghana. When W. Du Bois was the person they used to sabotage and denigrate Marcus Garvey and all them same Negroes that they're telling you about. They didn't lifted their names up. They're the ones that was lying. That's the whole purpose of the boule. So, like I said, the guy was right on, spot on. Yeah. Anybody else got anything on that? Or anything else they want to talk about? Oh, yeah. So, with that being said, let me play this right quick. See if I can get out of this. Okay.
They need us more than we need them. That was the phrase. That was the gamble. That was the logic that led to the single most catastrophic economic decision in modern American history. For decades, there has been a quiet arrogance in Washington, a belief that Canada is just the attic of the United States, a friendly, snowy place where we keep the spare resources until we need them. A 51st state in everything but name. The assumption was simple. America holds the cards. America has the consumer market. America has the military. If push came to shove, Canada would fold. Well, as of this morning, Sunday, January 25th, 2026, we found out what happens when the nice guy finally snaps. 48 hours ago, President Trump signed Executive Order 1-99, imposing a blanket 25% tariff on all Canadian imports, energy, lumber, aluminum, everything. The goal? To force Ottawa to renegotiate the USMCA on terms that would effectively surrender their sovereignty over their own natural resources. The White House expected a delegation of polite Canadians to fly to DC, hat in hand, begging for a waiver. In a move that no analyst on Wall Street priced in, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, or perhaps his successor, driven by a unified parliament, didn't just issue counter tariffs. He invoked the National Strategic Reserve Act. He didn't tax the exports, he banned them. As I speak, the valves on the Enbridge mainline are closing. The trains carrying potash to the Midwest are stopping at the border. The uranium shipments destined for American nuclear power plants have been grounded, and the American economy, it isn't just sneezing, it is going into cardiac arrest. Gas prices in the Midwest jumped 80 cents overnight. The Chicago Board of Trade suspended trading on wheat futures because the fertilizer panic is so severe. And the U.S. Department of Energy just issued a red alert for the Texas power grid, not because of the cold, but because the refineries that feed it are starving. In this deep dive, we are going to expose the lie of energy independence. We are going to show you why the United States is chemically, geologically, and strategically addicted to Canada.
So
Except the tax.
I played the other day how this is just Canada right here. And this right here is detrimental. But not only that, they got this thing called the Great American Boycott that already started. And that's all the countries, all the global community, they start rejecting anything that has to do with America, any kind of products. Nobody wants no products from America, no dealings with them, no kind of way. They don't want to come here to visit, none of that. So like I said, how long you think they're gonna last? And that's what we're looking at. A lot of people not seeing it, but that's where all of a sudden these visa restrictions and they done bought TikTok. Like I said, it's gonna end up on us. Okay. Any comments on that? Questions? Okay. I was talking about this project 2025. Okay. This is
the Heritage Foundation has been around.
So Stacey Abrams. Okay, let's check it out.
For more than 40 years. And actually, they've been producing a version of this, which folks have long ignored until we saw it play out. In this document, what they call Project 2025, when they started it, it was called Mandate on Leadership. It came out after Reagan. That's when they first started publishing it.
Right.
They have said what we want to do. We want to strip communities of color of access. They talked about affirmative action and how do you end it. We want to do election security. That's voter suppression. They've been telling us what they were doing, but more importantly, they've been doing it. So when we say Project 2025 is dangerous, it's because we've seen Project 2020, Project 20, they've been able to implement it. And so here's what they want to do now. They are angry about what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have achieved. They're angry about what Barack Obama achieved. They do not want us to have what we have. And so it's 900 pages of how they plan to fire anybody who works a good government job who isn't willing to pledge allegiance. And if you think it doesn't matter to you, if you have a family member who works for the post office, that's a government job. If you have a family member,
it goes down that far. I'm thinking these are Pentagon jobs. And
when you start to change who's in charge, they change who's in charge and they change who works for them. They want to dismantle civil service. That's how this happens. And the reality is what they're willing to tell us they're going to do is not the end of what they're going to do. And so the reason I invoke the post office receives funding from the federal government.
Right.
Louis DeJoy is a federal employee, but there are so many others. We just have to recognize that the minute you break the dam and you say you can start to interfere in the employment of government workers who are not political appointees, that reaches everyone. When you say that DEI is going to be pulled out of every part, that means that the Small Business Administration, which has a responsibility to make sure that capital gets to Black and brown small businesses, to women-owned businesses, that's going to end. They've already sued to close down the Minority Business Development Agency, which has helped create millions of small businesses.
Yeah.
All of those things will be not just under attack, they will be dismantled. And it doesn't take much because look at how far we slipped back in 8 years. They've written down, they've told us what they're going to do. Yeah. It's for those who love sports, it's like they gave you their playbook. They've told you what they're going to do. And we are a peewee football team about to play against, I grew up watching the Cowboys and the Jets and those, but it's like you're playing against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
And you're a peewee football team. If we think that what they say they're going to do isn't going to happen because, we're playing the same game, no, we're not in the same game. No. And so our job is to recognize that we too have the ability to play pro ball. We too have the ability to fight back. But it begins by making sure they don't get the power they seek, because what they seek is to strip us of our power.
One of the things that white evangelical Christians did was they said, you know what, let's try to control the school boards.
Yes.
Because if we control the school boards, then we can inform the curriculum and we can dismantle little Stacy in the cafeteria before she gets there. I want you to talk about, because you mentioned it in passing, going to the bottom of the ticket. This is the very first time, since 1976. This is 2024. Since 1976, this is the first time that the majority of the Atlanta school board is not Black. So what do we do? Because I pastored in Atlanta, Georgia, Stonecrest, Georgia. Any number of people come through our church who running for office. Nobody has come through who's running for the school board. What do we do is a two-part question. One, on preparing people to run.
Yeah. So those are not decisions made by Congress. Congress made this decision. It said, here's money.
Right.
The president made the decision. Here's money. But when your city council won't accept the money because they've got to match it, when your county commission won't deploy the money to your part of town, those are decisions made by local elected officials. When your child sits in a classroom with books that have been banned because Toni Morrison dared to tell the truth about the history of slavery, that's a problem. That's a city council decision. Now, we might live in communities where we think we are immune to the terrible stories we hear, but we're not immune. These things don't happen overnight. They happen gradually. It's the boiling the frog.
Yeah.
And we're sitting in the water.
Welcome to the jacuzzi.
And so if we aren't paying attention, if we are so fixated on the big jobs, and we need to pay attention. I vote for president, but recognize that if you want the president you vote for to get the help she needs, then you've got to make sure she's got a Congress that she needs and a state legislature that actually implements it, that we've got governors who believe in the people. If you are a small business owner who wants to have access to capital, you do not want a state legislature that doesn't believe that they should pay attention to the demographic composition of the state. And 190% of the money goes to the population, only makes up 50% of the state. So we've got to calibrate our expectations with our interest.
Okay. Anybody got any feedback on that? You notice what she said. Project 2025 started with Reagan. Okay, he dead and gone. And lo and behold, King Alpha Plane. That started with Reagan. Ain't that something? Yeah, anybody got anything else?
Shalom, and they're gonna continue to play the playbook, hand it down from one to another, and right now it's in Trump's hands. That's how I look at it.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so we're gonna read these 3 chapters, and like I said, we on Wednesdays, on reading through the Tanakh, we read 5 chapters, and we read 3 chapters on Women's Night, and I'm trying to read. We're trying to read 3 chapters on Men's Night, and the thing about it, like I said, I'm overlaying the scriptures. So because there's a lot of things I hear people saying that they had never heard that before, saw it in the Bible. Well, that's the whole purpose, reason why I'm overlaying these chapters and reading them. So what we're gonna do tonight, we are in Genesis, and we're in chapters 10 through 12. And I mean, if you don't want to read, let me know. But we're gonna keep the same process we always had. You want to read chapter 10, Genesis 10, Elijah?
Shalom, yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Genesis chapter 10. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, I think, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. And these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families and their nations. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sapta, and Ramah, and Septeka. And the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Asher, and builded Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Calah. And reason between Nineveh and Calah, the same is a great city. And Mizraim begat Ludim, and Anamim, and oh my goodness, these names. And Naphtuhim, and Pathrusim, and Casluim, out of whom came Philistim, and Caphtorim. And Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgasite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sinite. and the Arvadite, and the Zemarite, and the Hamathite, and afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah, and Zeboim, and unto Lasha. These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born. The children of Shem, Elam, and Asher, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. And the children of Aram, Uz, and Hul, and Gether, and Mash. And Arphaxad begat Salah, and Salah begat Eber. And unto Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. And Joktan begat Almadad, and Sheleth, and Hazar Maveth, and Jerah, and Hadaram, and Uzal, and Diklah, and Obal, and Abimael, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. And their dwelling was from Mesha, as thou goest unto Sephar, a mount of the east. These are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their tongues, in their lands, after their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah, after their generations, in their nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. That was Genesis chapter 10. So,
Okay. Yeah. So what stuck out to me was 19. It says, people trying to identify who these people that's over in Gaza right now. Right. Verse 19 says the borders of Canaan, the Canaanites, the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon as thou comest to Geor unto Gaza. See that? As thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah and Amalek and Zebulun and Lee. So right here. So Gaza tied to the Canaanites. See that? So with that being said, you want to read chapter 11? Joyce?
Shalom, everyone. Yes, sir. Genesis chapter 11, the failure of man. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, and they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build as a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. The confusion of tongues, verse 5. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men build. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was of 100 years old and begat Arphax 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begot Arphax 500 years and begat sons and daughters. And Arphax lived 35 years and begat Salah. And Arphax lived after he begat Salah 403 years and begat sons and daughters. And Salah lived 30 years and begat Eber. And Salah lived after he begot Eber 403 years and begat sons and daughters. And Eber lived 4 and 30 years and begot Peleg. And Eber lived after he begot Peleg 430 years and begat sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years and begat Ru. And Peleg lived after he begat Ru 209 years and begat sons and daughters. And Ru lived 230 years and begat Serug. And Ru lived after he begat Serug 207 years and begat sons and daughters. Verse 22. And Serug lived 30 years and begat Nahor. And Surah lived after he begat Nahor 200 years and begat sons and daughters. And Nahor lived in 20 years and begat Terah. And Nahor lived after he begat Terah and 119 years and begat sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years and begat Abram, Noah, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Noah, and Haran begot Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity in Ur of the Chaldees. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarah, and the name of Nahor's wife Mel- Milcah, and the daughter of Haran, and the father of Milcah, and the father of Ishka. But Sarah was barren, she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot, and the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarah his daughter in law, his son's Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. That was Genesis chapter 1.
Okay, got any feedback?
Um, well, this basically these people was trying to build something that the Lord of hosts didn't want them to build, and he just turned their language so that they couldn't build them, and so that he could scatter them all over the four corners of the earth. And when he did, then they start having the generations began, and they start telling us about start with the ancestry of Abraham, which was Abram back then. But I did have something to ask about 10 in verse 4, the sons of Javan. Um, these are these four, one, two, three, four. Did you talk about this before? That these four was like these four beasts, like when they went scattered and went where they were. These were the places where the four beasts and these people, these sons, they were there.
Yeah, with all of these people from verse 12, verse
Hmm.
2, all the way to 5. That's the Greeks.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Third beast.
That's Cain's lineage.
Right.
Okay,
A
yes, sir.
lot of people don't know that though, because all you have to do is go to verse 2. The sons of
Yeah,
Japhet, Gomer, Magog, Midian, Javan, Tubal. See that? And so before the
yes, sir.
flood, didn't Lamech have a son called Tubal?
Yes, sir. That
Oh,
was.
that makes who would name their son Tubal if they know who these people was, unless they
Mm-hmm.
out of his lineage.
Right.
But I heard people say you can't do that, you can't use that. Come on,
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
you know what I'm saying? There it is right there. Then, like I say, these right here in verse 2 through verse 5, these the people he keeps saying all through the scriptures he got a problem with. When you go to go to Ezekiel,
You
okay?
can even see the giants in 6.
Right, exactly. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
Giants is from uh 13 all the way to 20 in chapter 10. Them giants,
The
always
Mez
giants.
in the Mesrim, wasn't they giants too?
Yeah, all of them. So
Okay,
different.
6.
You got
Mm-hmm.
the ones with the I am is direct
Mm-hmm.
descendants from what the angels slept with the woman. But then the
Okay.
angels was locked up, so they getting smaller. That's where you get the ITE from. They getting
Okay.
smaller to the point where we at today. They walking around looking like us.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was saying, what people don't understand, that's where all these defects coming from. that we're dealing with today. Because it was you mix angelic DNA with human DNA, you get side effects. But anyway, let me go to Ezekiel 37 right quick.
Yes, sir.
Okay, excuse me. Ezekiel 37. And then you see what I'm talking about. It says 38. I mean, Ezekiel 38, verse 1. And the word of the Lord came to me, to Ezekiel, and he said, Son of man, set thy face against who? God, Magog, the chief prince of Meshach, Tubal, and prophesy against them. So he, all the way through the scriptures, he got a problem with these people. That's in Genesis chapter 10. Same name. So you go to verse 2, the sons of Japhet, Gomer, Magog, Midian, Javan, the same name. Tubal, and Meshach, and Tyrus. Just because they came from Cain. These Cain descendants.
Yes,
Cain
sir.
came from the serpent. Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody good on that? Okay, we're going to read chapter 12, Brittany.
Yes, sir. Excuse me. I do have a question in regards to what was just asked. In chapter 10 about the children. Was the question, does it start at verse 2? Is that the lineage from Cain? Was that the question?
Verse 4.
Verse 4. Okay. So my question is tied back to the book of Enoch in chapter 22, where Enoch is asking about the spirit of a dead man making suit, and Raphael, the angel, tells Enoch that it's Abel. And in verse 9 it says, and he answered me saying, this is the spirit which went forth from Abel, whom his brother Cain slew, and he makes his suit against him until his seed is destroyed from the face of the earth, and his seed is annihilated from amongst the seed of men. So my question is, Brother Leonard, all of these people in the final day of judgment, the great day of judgment, they it doesn't matter. They will not be in Israel at all. They won't be a part of any nation coming up to worship the Lord of hosts. Is that correct?
Well, right. Well, so to break that down, you got to understand that he says that when the giant died, and you get a giant from when an angel slept with a woman, which he left his habitation, came in. So the Most High, the spirit that's in that giant didn't come from heaven. So when the giant dies, that spirit go. He got a place for it where they dwell on the earth, but he have a place where they at. That's Sheol. That was the purpose of him. He created hell because of those when he had those giants said, the spirit of those giants and the spirit of the fallen angels was bound. That's where they go in. So that's why David keeps saying, those that go down into the pit. He keep praying when he praying to the Lord and petitioning the Lord. He says, send them down to the pit. That's what he's talking about. So what you just read, Abel's spirit didn't come from these fallen angels. So where Abel's spirit went? To heaven. And he went to heaven, to the gates of heaven, and petitioning that these people that he get rid of these people. You want to read that again?
Yes, sir. And that's chapter 22 of Enoch.
Right.
And I'll start at 8. This spirit which maketh suit, who is it? Whose voice goeth forth and maketh suit to heaven? Verse 9. Right. And he answered me, saying, this is the spirit which went forth from Abel, whom his brother Cain slew. And he makes his suit against him until his seed is destroyed from the face of the earth, and his seed is annihilated from amongst the seed of men.
Right. So Abel's spirit sins. All of the Hebrews, the people that came from that the Most High formed and created from Adam, when they pass away, they spirit ascend into heaven. So when Cain killed Abel, Abel's spirit went to heaven and start petitioning in heaven to the angels and to the Creator and to the Lord of hosts about what Cain done. That's what's being revealed right there, being talked about.
Brother Leonard, that's a lot of people that's just not going to make it. To just
Yeah,
be
exactly.
utterly destroyed. Wow.
Exactly, right. But they don't want you to know that. And so another thing right here, before we finish reading, you can see that we saw the good and the bad fig in Jeremiah. Well, here go the good and bad fig right here. In verse chapter 9, not 10, we read 9, 10. See verse 10 and 30. And these are Joktan descendants, right? They Hebrews. So it says these verse 30, and their dwelling was from Misha as thou goest unto Sephar, the mount of the east. Now you go down to chapter 11, verse 1. And the whole earth was one language, one speech, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east. See that? This Joktan, these two boys, right? Eber had two boys. These Joktan descendants. They journeyed with Nimrod to the east. Then you get over here, and then now you see over here in 11 and 27, these are the descendants of Terah, descendants of Shem. That's the good feed. They came from Peleg. See that? So yeah, I'm
Yes,
just
sir.
gonna shine like that. So where you was at? You finished reading?
So we can, I'm on chapter, am I starting on 11?
12. You was in 12.
12, okay. Chapter 12. Now the Lord has said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him. And Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Hebron. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Sichem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. And the Lord appeared to Abram and said, unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Lord, who appeared unto him. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. And there was a famine in the land. And Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. And it came to pass, when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai his wife, behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, this is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman, that she was very fair. The princes also of Pharaoh saw her, and commended her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abram well for her sake. And he had sheep, and oxen, and he asses, and manservants, and maidservants, and she asses, and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why sayest thou, She is my sister? So I might have taken her to me to wife. Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her and go thy way. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had. And that was Genesis chapter 12.
Okay, you got any feedback?
I have a question in the, where is it at? Verse 12. Abraham is
Okay.
telling her, Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. So my question is, before the flood, I don't know if this occurred where angels were picking wives that were not married, or if they were killing husbands before they came into human females. The way verse 12, yes, sir.
You got to go to 6. It says, verse 3, and then okay, I'll start at 1. It came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth that the daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God, these angels, saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair. See that? And that's what we just read. Abraham told, I know you fair. See that? It say, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit, like I was just talking about, the spirit that's in Abel and Adam descendants, my spirit shall always strive with man. Because these angels, spirit in these what these giants put in these giants, they ain't come from him. For that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. Then says there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore them children to them, the same became mighty men, which were old men of renown. I think I skipped it. Says, yeah, 2. It says that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, right? And they took, see that same thing with Abraham. And they took them wives of all whom they chose. Just like the Pharaoh chose Sarah, but Sarah had a man. And if like Abraham said, if he would have said that was her husband, they'd have killed him. So it don't matter if the woman was married or not. And when they chose him, then he killed whoever she was with. And we also see that in the book. We also see that in book Adam and Eve. I'm always reading it when it says that Satan came down and taught Tubal-Cain how to make iron and metal, how to make wine, how to build houses of drink, bars, liquor houses. And then he said the men would come into a man's house, these giants, and they'll rape the man, rape the little children and the woman, then kill the man. So that's verified right here what Abraham's saying.
Yes, sir.
So that's why Abraham telling her that.
Yes, sir.
Right.
When he, in verse 12, where it says, and they will kill me, it
Right.
almost came off as if Abraham knew that these Egyptians also knew they should not be taking somebody's wife. And
right.
it makes me think of immediately before the flood, Enoch, and Enoch's son was basically trying to tell people what was right from wrong, but everybody was listening to Enoch, who wanted to know what was righteous. And it just reads as if the Egyptians know I should not be sleeping with somebody else's wife. So let's just go
Right.
ahead and kill this man so we don't get in too much trouble.
Right. That's explained in 18. And Pharaoh called Abraham and said, "What is this that thou hast done unto me?" See that? So no. Why didst thou not tell me? See that? So if he's saying he because of those men before, like with Shem and all them, they had been dealing with them and taught them the law. So they knew it. So he says, "Why you ain't tell me that I might have taken her to be my wife when he know the law? Now therefore, behold, thy and thy wife take her and go thy way." So he understood. He already knew that. That's where Melchizedek come in at. That's what Canaan was. That's what Enos was. On down to Noah, when he got on the boat, he was Melchizedek. Then Noah passed away, Shem became Melchizedek. Then it was passed on to Abraham. Okay. Anybody else got anything before we good? Okay, we're gonna pick that scripture, or somebody gonna pick the scripture, read the scripture, then we'll break it down, and then we'll close out.
Shalom. Yes, sir. 2 Samuel chapter 7, starting at verse 10. Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and I will plant them, that they may dwell in a place of their own, and move no more. Therefore shall the children of wickedness afflict them any more, as before time. Verse 11, and since that time I have commanded judges to be over my people Israel, and have caused thee to rest from all thine enemies. Also the Lord telleth thee that he will make thee a house.
Okay,
That's
what you
just
got?
well, this is basically this the covenant that the Lord of hosts had with David, right?
Exactly.
And so if we can we I have a question to that. Can we bring this in time, or this has to stay there? Because in
Right,
time,
the children of wickedness still around.
yes, sir.
That's what we were just dealing with
Mm-hmm.
previous about them taking the wives of all whom they chose. Those are the children of wickedness, and that's what he's telling them.
Mm-hmm.
They not.
Right.
He gonna take his people and he gonna plant them in the land of Canaan, the land of Israel, and the children of wickedness, which came from the giants, came from the fallen angels, is not gonna afflict them anymore. Two
Okay.
different types of people.
Yeah, this is the seed of royal, and then the seed of wickedness.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So with that being said, nobody else will have anything else. We're gonna close out right here and say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I see we got our men advanced Bible study tomorrow night, and the women is welcome to come in through YouTube and listen in. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom.
Shalom,
Shalom,
everyone.
everyone.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.